Welcome to Past, Present, Future, the Full Circle podcast, where we ask questions that nobody else wants to ask, but that you want the answers to. Please subscribe, share, and drop a comment so we know you were there. Past, Present, Future, episode 29.
29.
So we are here with an incredibly special guest, Shocka.
Yes.
So forgive me if this is incorrect, but obviously rapper, TED Talk speaker, and mental health advocate as well, which is one of the points that I'm actually really keen to go on into throughout this this interview. Is it's something that we like to kind of prise open within the conversations. But I do want to start at the very beginning.
Yes.
So in the past, Tottenham, I believe.
Tottenham, yes, Broadwater Farm.
How was it?
Tottenham, Broadwater Farm. It's changed a lot now. The perception around Tottenham is it's turned into a place of like inspiration. Before it was like a place of like negativity. When you thought of Tottenham, it's one of the most notorious estates in the whole country. The riots happened there. Mark Duggan, rest in peace, was from Tottenham, Broadwater Farm, my estate especially. 2 riots happened from there. I think one happened in 1985 where a police officer got killed. So like Tottenham, especially my estate, Broadwater Farm, had a proper dark perception around it. Cabs won't even take you there. I used to like jump in a cab and they'll be like, "Where you going?" And I'm like, "Broadwater Farm." They'll be like, No. Get like another cab. So it was really dark. But
with that in mind, what sorts of things were you exposed to in your early childhood?
Everything you see in the American movies in their hoods happened over here. Shootings, I got shot at close range. Me and my friends was actually talking about it the other day in the group chat because we was talking about divine intervention because we was talking about the film Immortals. Have you watched Immortals? You watched Immortals? So in the Immortals, like, and the divine intervention happens. If you don't know what divine intervention is, it's when like a supernatural power intervenes in your situation because like you've got a higher purpose. So like in the film Immortals, the gods come down and get involved in his situation. So we was just talking about how much times we've had divine intervention in our life. So I was talking about a time where I had a knife in my sock and I stole my mum's car. Obviously, I'm young and I called my friend and we got gassed and took my mum's car keys. And my friend had weed in the car and we saw, obviously my mum's reported that the car's gone missing. So feds has flashed behind us because they found us, whatever, and then pulled us over. My friend that had the weed left the weed in the car and just, as soon as the doors opened, he just ran off so they couldn't focus on him. So it was just me and my other brethren. I had a knife in my sock. So they did a stop and they searched us to see what we got on us. And that was just at the time where like, if you got caught with a shank, you're getting like 5 years minimum. So my friend's looking at me like, "You're gone," because he knew I had a knife in my sock. But then when he searched my ankle, I think he thought, you know, the bone bit on your ankle, I think he thought that was the bone bit on my ankle when it was really the knife. And he was like, "Yeah, you're good to go." And then we was just talking about that in the group, saying that was like a point of divine intervention. And then going back to the shooting anyway, what I was talking about, me and my friend got shot at close range on the estate. Like we was just literally chilling in the car, watching Boys in the Hood, because he had like a CD player in his car and was watching Boys in the Hood. And I remember I had a book about frequencies at the time. I got a friend called Whitney, she gave me a book called Frequencies, and it was just talking about what frequency you're on. And I remember like it sounded like mumbo jumbo to my brethren. And I was like, "Bro, we shouldn't be watching Boys in the Hood while we're in the hood. We're drawing a negative vibe." And I was thinking, "Bro, you're preaching." And then we got a phone call saying there's 2 guys on the estate with a balaclava on. While they're telling us that, we're seeing 2 guys with a balaclava on. And we're like, "Yo, we can see them." They're like, "Yo, they're strapped up." So they're coming towards us. We've just stayed in the car. I don't know what went through my friend's mind, but he switched the car on and tried to like reverse out. They heard him and they ran up to the car and just shot through the window. And then shot through the side door. But luckily the side door was so thick that by the time the bullet hit my friend, it slowed it down so much. So by the time it got to him, the speed of it's been slowed down so much because the door's so thick. And then, he drove off. He's screaming, I'm hit. So I'm waiting to see blood, but I can't see no blood anywhere. So anyway, he drove off, got to his girl's house, hopped out, saw the bullet on the seat, found that he was all right. And yeah, so we was just talking about divine intervention in that sense. But back to the question he was asking, that's like an everyday thing in the ends. I remember going home that night, seeing my mum, saying a prayer before I went to sleep, like, oh shit, thank you God, got shot at today, nothing happened, still alive. Went to bed, woke up the next day like nothing happened. That's just the everyday occurrence in Tottenham. And there's thousands of people with that kind of story. That story is not a unique story. That's like a normal story.
And you branded it as like God coming down when you were within that and almost saving you.
Yeah.
Looking back on it now, why do you think that he came down to save you?
So I can be here now, sharing this, so I can share this story. Because I feel like, for me, purpose for me is surviving an experience. Because once you've survived an experience, that means you can now teach on that experience you've survived. Some people have gone through experiences, but they didn't survive, so they can't tell us the story. The reason why 50 Cent is so special is because he survived the 9 shots. So we can talk to him and be like, how did it feel? Do you know what I mean? We can get his perspective because he survived it. Kanye survived the accident. So he after surviving the accident, he was allowed to give us Through the Wire. Do you know what I mean? That beautiful song. If he didn't survive the accident, we would have never had Through the Wire. Do you know what I mean? So like, that's how I feel. I feel like I'm a walking ghost in that sense too, surviving everything I've been through. So now I'm physically here and I can tell you. Do you know what I mean? There's plenty of people that got shot at close range, but they couldn't tell you the shock they had when the person pulled up, and you don't get their perspective. Do you know what I mean? We survived it, so we can share our perspective. So I think that's definitely one of the reasons that that divine intervention happened. And even to play into the mental health stuff, which we're going to go into, that I'm advocating for and I'm helping people with. Now looking at everything I've done in the mental health sector, that would have been erased if I got nicked with the knife in when he searched me, or if we... Because think about it like this. It was 3 of us in the car when he shot at the car. If that did hit my friend, they would have had to kill all of us. They couldn't leave no witnesses. So after they shot him, they would have had to see who else is in the car, would have had to kill all of us. Do you know what I mean? So like all of our destinies was intertwined in that moment. So yeah, it's deep.
What do you think then? Because within that answer, you kind of said purpose is going through things in the past and then putting those things into action in the present and helping people that potentially have gone through those things. From your past then, other than that, what do you think are the main events that occurred that give you purpose today that you can kind of give your take on and inspire others with?
One of the main events that sets up everything to where I am now is I went to boarding school in Nigeria for 2 years. I went boarding school in Nigeria for 2 years.
Why?
I was naughty over here. And obviously, I don't know if you had like African friends in your school, but like you just see them disappear. I'm like, where's Ade? And I'm like, his mum sent him Nigeria. So that's what happens in like the African culture. Like when you're too naughty, it's like just to save you. At the time when they're doing it, you don't understand why they're doing it. But you don't understand why they're doing it. But now I look back, it's like that was the best thing that could ever happen to me. Because all the friends I used to hang around with before I went ended up in prison. And they're my best friends, so I probably would have went to prison too. So I got sent to boarding school in Nigeria, and I used to, on our breaks from boarding school, when you have your break and you go back to spend time with your family, there's an auntie I used to stay with, and she was really religious. And she took me to this church, the church that she used to go to. And the church she took me, the pastor was preaching about covenants. And a covenant is basically a promise you make between you and God. And I remember, I'll never forget it because it all makes my life make perfect sense now. The pastor was saying, I want everyone to make a promise, a personal promise between you and God that you would like God to fulfill in your life. And I'm young, I'm like 15, so I'm gassed. So I'll never forget, I got down on my knees and I was like, God, you know what? This is so selfless. And I understand probably why I'm on this path because it came from such an innocent, pure place. I got on my knees and I was like, God, I just want to help. Do you know what I mean? I just want to, I just want to help out. How can I help out and, do your work? And that's what I asked, I didn't ask for money. I didn't ask for clothes. I didn't ask for... I think I might have asked for something to do with music. I think I might have said, if you help me with my music, I'll help. Do you know what I mean? Whatever, yeah? And then fast forward 2022, that was like over 15 years ago. Fast forward 2022, going through the divine intervention. Do you know what I mean? Going through that experience, the getting searched with the going through that experience. I understand why I was like swerving all those experiences, because like I was being divinely guided to get to this point where I could like share all of those stories and share that testimony. So that part, that church. That church session that I went to, service that I went to, if you remove that part from my life story, things could have been completely different. Maybe I would have died in that shooting, or maybe I think that prayer, that intention was so powerful. It just shaped the rest of my life. Literally, just those words, I would love to help one day. Do you know what I mean? I get to 2022 and we're in a time where like mental health is prominent. I didn't know that was going to happen. When I said that, I didn't say, oh, in 2022, everyone's going to be talking about mental health and I'm going to be spearheading it. I had no idea. And this is how I know that prayer is even so powerful, because that's not even something I would write for myself. Do you know what I mean? Someone told me, where would you want to be when you're 33? I wouldn't say I would want to be a person that's been sectioned 4 times. Do you know what I mean? I probably would have said I would want to be in my mansion with my Ferrari outside and my supermodel girlfriend. That's what I would have wrote for myself. Because I won an award won a mental health award last week, and I said something in my speech. I said, when God's got a purpose for you, he lets you know how great you're going to be, but he doesn't let you know how you're going to get there. Because if he shows you how you're going to get there, you're probably going to back out of it. And it's true. If I said that prayer in that church that day, saying, I would love to help, and then someone called me to the front and said, did you just say you would love to help? And I said, yeah. And they said, so this is how you're going to help. You're going to get diagnosed with schizophrenia. You're going to hear voices. You're going to see all these sort of things. You're going to get put in a mental health hospital. It's going to be scary. There's going to be nights where you can't sleep. Paranoia. I would have said, nah, I don't want to help anymore. Like, I'm cool. Let me just, do you know what I mean? So even 50 Cent and Kanye West, the reference I used, surely 50 Cent would have never said, I would have liked to get shot 9 times before I see this other side of this beautiful life that's waiting for me. He would have picked something more easier. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, yeah.
No, it's a really, really good answer, and I thank you for elaborating and going into it in so much detail. I wanted to kind of go back to the root of the mental health work that obviously you're conducting today before kind of going into the present section. When do you think that you first experienced mental health issues? And I guess that's given you the fire to obviously do what you're doing today, which is why I want to understand where the root came from.
I think I first experienced it when I experienced what I perceived at the time as failure. Because like, I was one of those, growing up, I was one of those people that like, everything just went right for. You know, the kid that like, got everything. I was the only child, my mum's the only child. So I got everything. People came to my house to play PlayStation and Dreamcast and, do you know what I mean? Xbox. I had all the game consoles. I had all the trainers I wanted. So everything just went right for me. But now I'm understanding how detrimental that can be, because it doesn't prepare you for the world. The world's not like that. Do you know what I mean? Everything don't go your way in the world. But that's the mindset I went into the world with. So when I joined Marvel, again, I was in a group called Marvel. Let's start there. Let's really start there, because that's where the journey starts. I was in a group called Marvel. It was me, Double S, and Vertex. That's where most people know us from. That's where I got my name from. And we put together this group. The group was birthed before me, but 2 members left, so they recruited me into it. And then we just went on this mad journey. We made Marvel FM 1 that got like 10,000 downloads. Then Marvel FM 2, 20,000 downloads. Then Marvel FM 3 is like 50,000 downloads. Then we're in studio with Drake. We end up in the Metropolis studio and we were with Drake. And then Rihanna's coming down the stairs. Then another day we're behind Lady Gaga. She's come. Like, things were just going so quick for us. Then we win the OMA Mixtape Awards. And then we tour with Chipmunk. And then Skepta saying, do you want to come on tour?
Diversity.
And then Diversity saying, do you want to come on an arena tour? So things was just going super fast. And I was used to that, because I told you that I was just used to just winning. But then the loss came. And that was the first time our mental health got shaken. We signed our deal to Risky Roads. Again, an iconic person in the grime scene. Do you know what I mean? And then...
what went wrong there?
We got dropped from the label. And that was the first time I've even experienced anything like that. Looking back on it now, I wish I had I wish I spoke. And I think that's why I'm such an advocate for people speaking.
Talk to me about your emotions at the time.
We didn't even talk to no one about, like, I saw a +44, they posted a clip of Jammer saying that AJ Tracy was at a show with Jammer and Wiley, and he asked them backstage, what should I do? Should I sign to a major or should I go independent? And I was just thinking about that, and I was like, this new generation is completely different. Because, like, just having that self-awareness to want to ask about your next step. We were so prideful. We didn't ask anyone about, like, we should have been asking so much questions. We was the first black group like us. There was no group like us. There's no blueprint. So we should be asking, like, how did Heartless Crew do it? Or where should we go as a black group? We was literally in our own, we used to call it Planet Marv. Do you know what I mean? We was literally in our own world. So when we lost the record deal, we didn't ask people, like, is it common to lose record deals? Do you know what I mean? How do you bounce back when you look? Because we're surely not the first people. So, like, I remember taking it so hard and thinking that, like, it's the end of the world. And you've got the pride of, like, coming back to, like, the Mandem as well, having to explain that, like, this is what's happened. I was just on tour with Diversity and Skepta, and now you're seeing me on the block and everyone's asking when's your next show, and you've got to, like, mask it like, it's coming, it's going, but you know, like, nothing's going on for you. Do you know what I mean? Just
how did you deal with it?
I didn't deal with it well. That's what I'm saying. I became isolated, and that was like the birth of, like, my introverted journey. Do you know what I mean? Because before that, I was like a proper outgoing, always on the block. But because of that shame, it led me to, like, stay to myself. And that's when my mum kind of knew something was wrong. Because she knows I'm always outgoing. So it's like, why are you now, like, always in the house? And not only are you always in the house, why is the lights off? Do you know what I mean? You're in darkness. And it's okay to be in darkness. I be in darkness sometimes now, but with the music on. Do you know what I mean? But darkness with nothing on, just literally lost in your thoughts. And I just stayed in that period. And I remember I stayed in that period and I just kept spiraling and spiraling. It just got deeper and deeper. And I had so much shit bottled up that I didn't express to anybody. Like, when I got sectioned the first time, my friends didn't know how to take it because they was like, brother, you seem so cool. Do you know what I mean? You didn't say a word to anyone. And then I come home one day, and I'll never forget it. I just flipping started screaming, shouting, and I just exploded. And I remember my mum was trying to calm me down. I had my uncle from Nigeria that was staying with us at the time. He was a doctor, luckily. That's divine intervention again. He was a doctor in Nigeria. So he come downstairs, my mum called him, obviously. He come downstairs, saw how I was behaving, saw me, like, being frantic, trying to smash things, screaming. And he was like, your son's having a breakdown, we need to call the ambulance. They called the ambulance and I got sectioned for the first time. I got put in St. Anne's Hospital for like a week. I spent a week. The first time I got sectioned, then I came out. And that was like, that time when I got sectioned, I got diagnosed with manic depression, which makes sense because I was acting pretty manic. And then I was cool. Well, not cool, but I was trying to, like, come to grips with, like, everything that happened. And this is why I'm so thankful for the time that we're in now, because, like, everything's being embraced. At that time, 10 years ago, that was like 2012. You're hearing rumors of, like, people saying, do you hear Shocks went mad? Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine that, though? Do you know what I mean? Like, can you imagine, like, having to deal with that stigma? Like, I totally understand why people don't come out and share their psychosis, and, like, because of, like, the way culture's set up, like, we shame everything that is good for us and we embrace everything that's bad for us. Therapy, we shame. Oh, you're going therapy? Why are you going therapy? Who are you talking to? What's wrong with you? Why not go to therapy? Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the whole world in itself, like a complex world. Why not go see someone and check it out? Oh, you've been sectioned. What, you've been sectioned? What, my man's been sectioned? Not going there and you don't know what's wrong with him. But it's like, going to the hospital is a normal thing. Getting sectioned for your mental health should be a normal thing. Do you know what I mean? And we should expect you to come out better. Do you know what I mean? When you go when you say, "Oh yeah, I'm ill, I'm going to the hospital," like it's understand. Like I'm ill, I'm going to the hospital to get checked.
I'm just wondering how much of that stigma that you talk about regarding the sectioning do you think is down to the brand name of I got sectioned? Do you think if it was rebranded into I got spoke about because of my mental health issues, rather than I feel like there's a stigma around the word sectioned.
Yeah, I think 95% of it is the stigma that fucks people. Because we can swear. That like fucks people up. I think 95% of it. But the reason why I stress the word section, I keep saying it, because what I'm trying to say is that it shouldn't even matter. No matter what a hospital's called. I don't know if there's another word for hospital, but it shouldn't matter. That's where I'm going. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's where you go when you need help. I'm sure in America it's not called section. I've seen comments under my page saying, someone break down what section is. They've got another word for it. Do you know what I mean? No matter what the word is, it should be normalized that like, I'm going here because my mental health is not in the best place, and this is where you go to get help. That should be normalized. It doesn't matter if that's what I'm trying to say. How did we get to that? How did we arrive at that point where we shame such a thing like that? And how can we not see how detrimental that is? Let me show you how detrimental that is. Okay, now we've got slogans like, he's moving mad. I say it to myself too. I say it all the time. Yo, that was mad, that was crazy. But I'm thinking about how detrimental it is. So now, say there is someone that's been moving mad and he hears conversations of someone on the train saying, yo, like, make sure you're not moving mad, you know? He's not going to want to come out and verbalize it now. Now he's boxed in. After being boxed in and not being able to verbalize it because he doesn't want people to be like, he's moving mad, what's the next step after that? Suicide. Then this is why I think society is even more fucked. After he commits suicide, what do we say? Why did he tell us? Do you know what I mean? So the whole framework is messed up, bro. It's messed up, and it's down to us. It's down to us because, like, I feel like we shouldn't even have to reach sectioning point. I feel like we should be our own intervention teams. I should be able to turn to you and be like, yo, this is how I'm feeling. We're all we've got. We're all we've got on this planet. Do you know what I mean? Like, literally, like, it's not like some of us are floating above the ground and no, we're all on the ground. We're all stuck on the train together. We're all stuck on the plane together. We're all stuck in churches together. We're all in this room together. We are all we've got. So if we can't talk to each other about these things, then what's our fate looking like and where are we heading to? Do you know what I mean? Because like as much as I've been advocating for mental health for the past, I don't know, 7-8 years now, yeah. My next conversation is like, what's the progress? I was talking to someone the other day. I was like, I want to know like the success rate of people coming out of mental health hospitals.
Quick one. Our sponsor, the 1994 Collective, are experts in PR and radio plugin. If you're an upcoming urban artist seeking airtime and to scale your audience, drop them a message and let them know we sent you. See, I wanted to ask you that actually, and sorry to tap into that, but you said about framework earlier, and I wanted to ask you from someone that's been through the system effectively, if you want to look at it like that, 4 times. So it kind of leads me to the natural question of how effective do you think the process is if you've been back 4 times?
Yeah. I'll be completely honest. I'm not seeing how it really helps you in there. I'm really not. There's so much work to be done. I don't know if there's anyone that's watching this and can point me into the right person and can sit me down with the right person, but the mental health system, especially where people go to get section, needs to be reinvented drastically. When I was in there this last time, because remember, we was meant to do this interview, I literally just came out 3 weeks ago. Literally 3 weeks ago from today, I was in a tiny room and I was sectioned. And like...
What led you to that room on that occasion?
I'm going to get there, but that's a whole fucking... I'm about to get there. But let me just finish off this point. It's like, they had something called music therapy. And they knocked on my door and said, do you want to come music therapy? I got excited because I do music. So I'm thinking, yo, this is going to be deep. I get in there and like, it's a room like this. They have a speaker on the table and they ask you, what song do you want to listen to? And they find the song on the laptop, play it, you all vibe to it, and then someone else picks their song. And I was like, bruv, like, you could have done something so beautiful. You can bring someone like myself in to the hospital, let them give a speech about the song they're about to perform. Do you know what I mean? Let them tell their journey. Or if you do just want to make it simple and just play songs, ask me why I picked that song. that I'm about to play. Why did I choose that song? How did that song make me feel? How does that song help me? How is that song therapeutic for me? Do you know what I mean? Even how the mental health hospitals look, like you can brighten it up. It should be, they can make the mental health hospitals so inspirational that you've got no choice but to get better. Do you know what I mean? They should have, same way when you go to like secondary schools and you've got like pictures of people that's graduated and gone on to do great things. They should have pictures of people that's like come out of the hospital and did good things in society. So like you can, because I remember I had nothing, you have nothing to do when you're in there. Literally, I just walk up and down and run, see people playing pool, table tennis, lunchtime, do you know what I mean? Nothing to do, yeah? So I could be looking at them walls and thinking, I want to be like this girl. She was just here. Had their room number. Do you know what I mean? I was on, my room was number 10 or something. The girl that was in number 10 went on to, do you know what I mean? Like, and it can be so inspirational. There's so much work to be done. It can be such a place where like, because I want to know the success rate, because I know something's wrong, because when people see me, it's like they've seen a ghost. They look at me like, oh, you made it out of there. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're well. And it shouldn't be that. Of course, that's where I went to get well. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I posted a caption the other day on my Instagram saying, it's crazy, but I found peace in a mental home. And I did find peace in a mental home this time. I'm a completely different person. Now, let me go into the question you asked about what led me there. So the last time I got section was in 2016. That was like 6 years ago. So in between that 6 years, I've been doing incredibly well, killing it. TED Talks, sold out shows, adverts, just being on a great trajectory. But I kept saying to myself, because my mum's got cancer. My mum had cancer. And I was saying, yo, if anything can take me back, it's that, because that's something, that's new now. That's a new devil that I haven't like prepared for. Do you know what I mean? I've been section 3 times, and I find the last time I got section, I finally started to get to grips with it and understand like my triggers and what's going on. But I said, if my mum passes, remember I told you I'm my only child. My dad's not in my life. My mum's like my everything. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, if she passes, that's gonna, I'm interested to see what happens. Do you know what I mean? And then in February the 2nd this year, she passed. And I thought I was handling it really well. And I had my headline show the same month. So she passed on the 2nd. I had my headline show on the 27th. And then I had her funeral on the 8th of March. Everything was back to back. And I kept saying to myself, I need to take a break. You know when it's in the back of your mind, like every time before I go to sleep, I kept saying, Shocks, you need to take a break. You've had your mum's funeral, you've had your headline show, she's passed, like this is a lot. You just moved out. I was living with my mum for my whole life. I'm now I've moved with my aunt for a bit. And that's a drastic change. You know what I mean? I remember waking up at my aunt's at like 3 a.m, thinking, where am I? Like, it's just a different, do you know what I mean? So and I was like, I need to slow down. So, and then because I got diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. And like, schizophrenia is bad enough. If no one don't know what schizophrenia is, it's like when you're having like delusions and hearing voices and your reality is just like going wild. And then paranoid schizophrenia is that times 10. I was trying to think of an analogy on the way to describe to someone what paranoid schizophrenia is like. And it's like putting on a VR glasses. You know, the virtual reality thing? It's like putting that on, but the world you've just put on is all your deepest fears. Do you know what I mean? Imagine what that's like. But the reason why I said VR glasses is because the people that's watching you, it's not real to them. Do you know what I mean? And you know when you see someone in a VR and they're like barking out and you look at them like, bruv, what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? And like, that's like one of the best analogies to put it. And like,
it's a really good analogy. I just wanted to ask you, because you said it's like a VR with all your deepest fears. In that moment, what were your deepest fears?
And that's where I'm going to get into. So like, I had so many fears at the time. So many fears, so many like deep, dark thoughts and deep insecurities. And that's why I'm so, that's why doing the healing work on myself and having a good self-image and getting rid of my fears and my beliefs are so important, because when I do go through my like paranoid schizophrenia phase, that's what it plays on. My darkest thoughts. Do you know what I mean? It will play on those. So this is a crazy story. I haven't even said this out loud, so I don't even know how this is going to come out. But I was hearing a voice in my head that was saying to me, today, you've got 2 ways to leave the planet. It's either you jump off a building or someone's going to stab you in your heart. Yeah. And my cousin, I got a cousin called Paul Erahon. You can type his name on Google. His story was in the news and everything. He got stabbed in his heart. That's how he passed. So that scared the shit out of me. And I think that played on that fear. So when I was going through my paranoid phase at home, I remember my auntie said to me, like, how are you feeling? And I said, I want to commit suicide. And she said, how? And I was like, I want to jump off a building, take me to my area. Because there's like a big building in my area. So my auntie called up the mental health hospital and said, obviously my nephew's having a psychosis. He's saying he wants to jump off the building, he wants to commit suicide. And then she took me into the hospital. That's how I got sectioned this 4th time. But here's where it gets scary. So I'm thinking in my head, in my VR paranoia world, I'm thinking, okay, I didn't jump off the building, so now she's taking me to get sectioned. What's the next option?
They're going to stab you in the heart.
So I go into hospital now. Don't forget, my auntie don't know I'm having these thoughts. So when she's taking me to get sectioned, I'm thinking, right, this is the last time I'm going to see you. Like, it's over for me. You don't even know what you're doing. And this is where verbalizing is so important, because now I'm verbalizing it to you. I didn't verbalize it to her, so I'm just quiet. Because when I came out of hospital the other day, my DJ said something to me that made me feel really sad in my heart. He was like, Shocks, your auntie told us that you wasn't talking. And it just triggered everything again, because I know why I wasn't talking. Do you know what I mean? So obviously, you've gone into hospital now. This is where it gets even more scary. I go into hospital, and the person that comes to pick me up from the hospital is my friend. Because his name's called Mark. Big up Mark, by the way. He invited me to come to the hospital a couple months back to do a talk. Because that was the first place I got sectioned, like 10 years, maybe 10 years ago now. So he invited me to come and do a talk there. So when the ambulance pulled up and he came to get me, I'm looking at him like, oh my God, you're in on it too. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, this is where it gets fucking scary for me, yeah? And I can laugh on it now. This is where it gets scary for me. So as he takes me in and he looks at me and says, Shocks, man. I'm so upset that you're here. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you're doing so well, whatever, yeah? Anyway, as he's taking me into my room, I'm going past the patients, and there's this big you. And I'm looking at him like, fucking hell, he's the one. He's gonna do it. You can imagine. Imagine that's what's so scary. Imagine my paranoia levels, yeah? So I go into my room now, and I'm saying to myself, I'm not going to sleep. Because the second I close my eyes, yeah, someone's gonna run in here. And I had that paranoia for the whole night, and no one came. And you know what's so funny? Me and that you that I was paranoid of became the best of friends. Like, when I came out the next morning, he was like, yo, I never thought I'd be in here with Shocka from Marvel. And I'm looking at him like, you can imagine, like, that's how I snapped out of it. I'm looking at him like, what? And then he's playing me like Marvel freestyles, and like, even when I left, when I just got discharged and I said bye to him, like, it was emotional, because I can tell, like, this is where life's fucking crazy again. It's like I was meant to go in there to give him some form of peace, because like, he was going through something, and we wrote a song together. And the song that we wrote, it was a drill song, and it's like, I'm his good conscious and he's his bad conscious. And I'm telling him, like, because he was telling me his story and how much people's after him, and I'm telling him, yo, you need to come off the roads, and because this is what's gonna happen. We made like a song. Do you know what I mean? So like, I see how I fulfilled that purpose in that way. But like, this is what I was saying to you about, if God tells you that this is where I'm taking you, you're not going to go. Because if he told me, yo, I want to take you back to the hospital you went to 10 years ago that you just defeated those demons to go and see this you, I'm like, there's no way. Tell him to meet me out here, or meet you here. Do you know what I mean? Come to my show. So it's like, because I saw a quote that said, sometimes God takes you to a destination in a route that you're not particularly fond of, that you want to take to get there. And like, I found so much peace this time being in there, because it's like, I felt like, in order to be this person I'm about to become, there was so much subconscious fears that needed to come to the surface that I needed to deal with. I felt like I dealt with a lot of them. Not saying there isn't any more left. There might be one or two creeping around. But while I was in there, I dealt with... I'm not going to go into all my flipping... do you know what I mean? I could dive into all of them, but some things are for me. But like there was a lot of personal beliefs I had and a lot of things that like I had no choice but to face while I was in there. And I faced all of them. And that's what I meant by saying I found peace in a mental home, because it's like now that I'm back out here in the real world, it's like I felt like the fears, I felt like I felt them, if you know what I mean. Does that make sense? Like all my fears, I felt like I felt them through that VR. So like taking it off was coming back out into the real world, and I'm like, I'm cool, if that makes sense. So I just feel freer. I just feel free. And it's like, since I came out, I don't know if you've been on my Instagram, but I started documenting my journey while I was in there. I would have never done that before. I've been there 3 times. I've never had my phone. My mum wouldn't allow me to have my phone because she was like how she didn't want me to connect to the outside world and it, you know, fucks up my mind, whatever. This time, my auntie doesn't know my mum's policies. So she gave me my phone. And this is the first time I had my phone. And like, I just knew straight away, you need to document this. This is something that's going to be really important. And it reminded me of Kanye West, how he documented through the wire. And do you know what I mean? And that ended up changing his life. And that's what's happened for me. As soon as I've documented this whole process of me being in there, whatever, the love and everything's just been overwhelming. And I just know that like it was meant to happen. As soon as I came out, I recorded this freestyle called Blessing in Disguise. And I feel like that's exactly what it was. It was a blessing in disguise. It was another way for me to, because this is what's crazy. Just before I went in, I've just jumped on TikTok, and like on TikTok, there's bare, like obviously it depends what you type, and you'll get bare videos. Because if you type comedy, you get, obviously I type spirituality, so I get bare different videos. I'm just learning every day. And one of the videos I saw just before I got sectioned, the woman was saying, pick a theme for your year. So your theme could be integrity. This year, my theme's integrity. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to look people in the eye. That's my theme for this year, integrity. I was like, what theme would I like to pick? I was like, I'd like to pick growth. I remember saying that. And I feel like my friend said, I got a friend called Lasco when I came out. I was talking to him and he said something to me. He said, your story is going to inspire a generation because you can articulate what you went through. And I was like, I get what he means, because that's like the difference between someone that's crazy and a crazy genius. To me, someone that's crazy is someone that's out of control. When you think of someone that's crazy, that's what you think of, like they're out of control. A crazy genius is someone that's in control of the craziness. Do you know what I mean? So like, I'm in control of it now and I can articulate it. And that's like the major difference. And when he said that, like, it proper like hit me and proper made me realise what he meant.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about destination, because within that answer, I think you said that God will often take you to a destination, but down a road that you don't necessarily want to travel. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about the future. What do you think your end destination is?
What do you mean? As in,
what do you want to accomplish within the future?
I definitely want to reinvent, like what I was saying to you about mental homes and where people get sectioned. I definitely want to play a part in changing that. Even if I don't do it in my lifetime, you know, like how I just laid out the changes, what I just said about putting people's stories and brightening up how it looks. Maybe someone else can see this 50 years from now and act on that plan and bring it to life. You know, like how Nipsey Hussle was going to make a film for Dr. Sebi. And do you know what I mean? Dr. Sebi didn't know Nipsey Hussle was going to pick that up and want to make a movie one day. I don't know who's going to see this, bro, that says, you know what? My mum just got sectioned and I'm so upset about it and I want to make a change, but I don't know where to start. And then he sees my guides and he might be rich as well. He might be from a rich family and have the money to do it. And then he acts on it and puts it into it, makes it a reality. And that could be like my intention fulfilled through him. So I don't know who's going to do it. But if I can do it within my lifetime, I'm planning to take the steps towards doing that. Also, Another mission that I'm really on at the moment is eradicating shame. I think shame holds us back so much. Shame holds us back so much. I saw a quote in my phone. I actually want to say it, the quote. Let me get it. The quote was, when you truly begin to understand that you are loved and accepted by God, being rejected by the world no longer hurts. And let me elaborate on that. It's like, the reason why being rejected by the world hurts is because of our validation we place from the attention we get from the world. Do you know what I mean? We wasn't born with no insecurities. In God's eyes, we're completely perfect. And I've been screaming that message as well. Like, we're unconditionally loved in God's eyes. Unconditionally. It's the world that like makes us not want to share our truths because he's going to look at me that way, or he's going to look at me that way. But in the Creator's eyes, I don't know what whoever's watching this wants to call it. God's eyes, the Creator, whatever you want to call it, your story and end has already been known. The mistakes you're going to make has already been known. That I mean, in their eyes, you're perfect. It's like when in that quote, when it said the rejection of the world no longer hurts. The perfect analogy I can use for that is, imagine going to a club, yeah? The people at the club, the bouncers, are the world, yeah? And they don't want to let you in because you don't have your ID. The owner of the club, which is the universal power, is your dad. Now, you're telling the bouncers, the people of the world, I don't have my ID, but my dad owns this club. What's going to happen? They're going to let you in. So that means that rejection they said to you about not letting you in because you don't have your ID doesn't hurt that much because the owner of the club is my fucking dad. Do you know what I mean? So like, whose validation means more to me? Whereas the reverse now, if the owner of the club doesn't want to let you in, but the bouncers, who are the people of the world, are your friends and they want to let you in, they still have to go back to the owner of the club and be like, bro, I know you're my guy, of course I want to let you in. Bro, there's bare girls in there, but I got to talk to my manager. So whose validation do you want to seek first? You want the owner of the club because you know you're always good. And that's where I'm at now. I've gone straight to the source. Most of my problems came from trying to please the world. Now I understand enlightenment and Havana, I get it. Enlightenment and Havana just means overcoming the world. When I used to hear like Bible quotes like being in the world but not being of it, I understand that now. You're in the world but you're not of it mentally. Mentally, you're not of it. Do you know what I mean? Like when the world's going left, you go right. When the world's going forward, you go backwards. Do you know what I mean? Everyone that changed this world was deemed as crazy. Does that make that there's not one of them that fitted in and changed things? They was all deemed as crazy. And like, I proper understand it. So I'm trying to see the world through God's eyes now. Because you don't see the world through your eyes, you see the world through your mind. Do you know what I mean? The eyes are really nothing. Your mind is what you're seeing. So if your mind is filled with like love and good energy and great vibes, that's what you're going to see. You see your mind through your eyes. So I mean, so when people are saying, oh, I hate going outside because I always see like, that's why I think there's a quote that says, be renewed by, do you know what I mean? By transforming your mind. The reason why I'm saying that is because your eyes is what, your mind you see through your eyes. So when you transform it, and that's why, and it's like, you can change that at any time. It's not like it's fixed that, oh, because I've got a negative mindset, that's all I'm going to see. No, you can transform it tomorrow. You can be a person that was like negative, a liar, a thief. That's what your mind was, and that's what you're seeing. We see people like, look at Gucci Mane. Do you remember the big Gucci? Do you know what I mean? He's slim now. Do you know what I mean? Mindset sharp. That's the same person. And that's what's beautiful about life, is that people can change. And that's my message. That's what I want to push to the world, is that like, you can overcome your demons and you don't have to be ashamed. Like my next single that's coming out on the 17th of June, it's called Don't Be Ashamed. And it's literally, the video is beautiful. I took all the clips and pictures I took from being in a mental health hospital. Obviously I've shared some, but I've kept some. I put them all together and I turned it into this beautiful video. Basically like through the wire, that was like my blueprint. And like, that's my message that I'm pushing to the world now, because I think the world needs to know that like, we are unconditionally loved. So once you know that, the rejection, nothing else can, what? Do you know what I mean? What can you really tell me? you're free.
For people that are going through it at the moment, I feel like this would be like a perfect point to hopefully go into and potentially to wrap things up with. What would you say to people that are going through it, and potentially like yourself, you were a few years ago or X amount of years ago, what would you say to them to hopefully give them that push to come out the other side to get where you are today?
First of all, I would say find a healthy self-image. Your self-image is how you view yourself. Like, there's two images. There's the guy you see in the mirror, which is this person, but then there's how you view yourself. You can be in the mirror like proper, like cut, but then how you see yourself is like weak and like timid. You get those people that like, you meet them and they can't look at you and like, but you're thinking, bro, I think you're a G though. Do you know what I mean? But he sees himself completely differently. And what's sad about that is that all of our insecurities come from someone else or an outside experience. It's not innately in us. You know what I mean? You wasn't born with like, oh, I'm born with, I'm going to be not looking at people. And no, that came from someone said something to you along the way. I don't know what it was. Someone in primary school said your ears are too big or like, and it clicked and it just stuck with you. And now you're spending your whole life trying to unlearn it. I think that's all we're trying to do, is trying to get back to that purity that we was when we was kids.
I agree.
We're just, do you know what I mean? We're just unlearning all this stuff along the way because of all the bullshit that people have said to us. That's why it's good to have incredible parents. Because when you have incredible parents, they cut out that unlearning process because they've instilled you so many great beliefs that like, when the world does try to throw on all these insecurities, you're shaking them off based on what your parents said. Whereas if you don't have that good guidance, you go into the world like vulnerable in that sense. You know what I mean? Like, you're just open and then you're taking on all these beliefs. Oh, bro, you're not good at music. And then you've lost your music talent, which you could have been the next Kurt Cobain or whatever, but you dropped it out. Oh, you're not a good painter. And then you dropped out that. Oh, one girl dumped you and then now you haven't been in a relationship for 12 years. But do you know what I mean? All this stuff that like...
Off the back of your parents' point, I'm just interested to go into that. So how accurate would it be to say then that 50% of your insecurities came from not having a relationship with your father, given your point about parents?
I think my parents did a good job in terms of they gave me a fighting DNA. Like, my dad was a boxer. So it was inevitable that like, I'm always going to fight back and try to bounce back somehow. My dad was a boxer. My mum had 2 miscarriages before having me. Do you know what I mean? So she fought to just to get me here was a fight for her. So fighting is in my DNA. So I picked that up from her and my dad. And then even though my dad ran in my life, he kind of altered my path because he was a boxer, he had bare trophies in my house. So me just seeing that normalized that for me subconsciously. Like I said to you, I just won an award last week. You know what I mean? That's like a normal, that's like that's the base level for me, winning awards, because my dad set that. I was saying that to my friend the other day. I was like, the reason why we've got to achieve so much is because it goes on our children's spiritual CV. Do you know what I mean? Like, P. Diddy's son is like, what is it to be a millionaire? That's where I start. Like, my dad was a millionaire. And we always refer to our parents. Anyway, we'll be like, so that's where it gets tricky because like, I reached a point where like my parents haven't been in terms of music and where it's like, oh shit, obviously my dad won trophies, but he never made it. So it's like, now I'm lost. It's like, what do I do at this point? Because my dad never like, made it. So it's like, I can't use him as a reference point. And my mum wasn't really a dreamer. She just worked hard, and so I can't use her as a reference point. So that's what I was saying to my friends, that we need to be extremely successful. So like, our children can use us as reference points. And if they don't want to use us as reference points, it's because they went so far beyond where we took it. Do you know what I mean? But like, Blue Ivy's going to use Jay-Z as a reference point for a lot of things. Do you know what I mean? Because he's filled her CV up with so much. That's why you see someone like Blue Ivy getting like the first child to win a Grammy. I think she won a Grammy for some like children's voiceover she did. Do you know what I mean? Already her CV starting because like so much greatness has happened in the family already. So that's how it's impacted me. Impacted me in a good way. Impacted me in a good way. I think just remember I told you that my mum spoiled me and bought me everything. Obviously, that was detrimental in the sense of it never got me prepared for the world. But it was good because it gave me like a sense of pride, but positive pride. You know, there's pride that can cause a downfall, but it gave me the pride of like, nah, man, I'm Shocka, bro. Do you know what I mean? Like, when I'm in hospital, I'm thinking, nah, bro, you got to snap out of this. Like, you got a purpose to do. It gave me that pride because I was so used to always being like the guy. So it's like, I can't allow myself to... It gave me a baseline, do you know what I mean? In my mind, and that's what I always tell my friends, it's like, or not even my friends, I always preach that it's good to have a rich memory bank. So when you go through depression, you've got so much... Basically, stack up your small wins. Stack up your small wins. Because like, I saw something and it said something. It said, your subconscious job is to make you correct. And that makes sense. It's like, if you're always winning, your subconscious realizes, oh, he's a winner. So whenever you come to do an interview, somehow it's going to make you correct and win. But if you're always losing, it's a horrible experience because it has to make you correct too. So when you go to ask a girl for a number, you're just going to trip over a stone that... Do you know what I mean? And that's when you start asking yourself, but why? Why did I trip over that? But it's your subconscious helping you, innit? You're a loser. So I got to, I got to help you. I got to make you correct. So to change that programming, stack up your small wins. And that's what I did. When I came out of hospital the first time, my confidence was mad low. And I was losing. I'm not going to lie. But I had a rich memory bank from like going on tour with Chipmunk and Skepta and seeing Drake. And I'll see Drake pop up and be like, bruv, you've met him. And that's my subconscious hearing that, like, so you're not that much of a loser because he's a G and you've met, do you know what I mean? So I'm having that internal, like, battle with myself. But it's like, that's why I think I've managed to bounce back from this section so quick. Because someone said to me the other day, like, do you realise you was just section 2 weeks ago and now you're back outside and doing, but it's because of all those wins I had in that 6-year period. All those wins is that, like, I just bounced back from it straight away. I was like, yo, let's get back to work. You've had this, you've learned from it, you know what demons you had to face, back to work. So it's like, that's what I would say to someone, back to your question, is have a healthy self-image. How do you have a healthy self-image? Do small wins, little wins. Even if it's like, my goal is to go jogging today. Do it. Do you know what I mean? Be a man of your word. Because the more you're not a man of your word, that's what I'm saying, the subconscious is listening. All these voices that we hear sometimes are our demons. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you tell yourself, yo, I'm going to go gym 4 times a week, when your head says, no, you're not going to go, it's not because it's hating on you. It's because in the past, you said you was going to go and you didn't go. So now I'm just reminding you of what you do. You don't go. Do you know what I mean? So for someone that's in my situation, I would say forgive yourself first and foremost. Forgive yourself for everything. Every mistake you've made. As I said, we're unconditionally loved by God, but we don't forgive ourselves. God's already forgiven us. The moment you prayed and said, forgive me for that, it was done. Then we still walk outside and be like, nah, but I feel like I need to do more. It's us. Like, it's us. So I'll say forgive yourself, number 1. Then number 2, stack up your small wins. Stack up your small wins. Stack them up. Number 3, keep your word. Your word's so important. The reason I'm stressing that is because I was a person that wasn't a man of my word. All my friends will tell you, I'll tell you this and then I won't do that. And it's not a good thing because it doesn't help you sleep well at night. Do you know what I mean? Because you know, like, I promised him to be there, but it's just not a good thing. The whole thing is about being good with yourself. Everything that's stopping you from being good with yourself, eradicate it. After that, it's freedom. It's freedom. And what I would say is find a tribe as well. And that's what's so good about social media. Like, your platform is a tribe. Like I just said, I've seen like 5 of my friends already on your platform. That's what made me want to go. Because I was like, oh, he must be cool because my tribe's over there. So find your tribe. And how do you find your tribe? By speaking. And that's why I'm trying to eradicate the shame around being vulnerable. My album's called Vulnerability is the New Cool. And like, and that title is me realizing how cool it is to be vulnerable, to be a vulnerable person. Not in the sense of like going out and just splurting your business to everyone you see, but I mean like the people that is in your inner circle, don't be afraid to like go just that, deeper. Or even in your art. If you can't go that deeper in person, go deeper in your art form. There's so many different ways to go deeper, but you need to be vulnerable. There's what is life without vulnerability? The only reason why you two are like really good friends is because one of you lot gave the invitation to be vulnerable and one of you lot took it. One of you lot asked a question where he could have said, one of you lot asked a question where maybe it was a question like, how's your day today? And that's the invitation to be vulnerable. And you could have said, oh, it's okay. And then, declined the vulnerability invitation. Or you could have said, you know what? This is what's going on at home. And the moment you did that, a beautiful friendship has begun. Do you know what I mean? So that's how beautiful vulnerability is. That's the difference between a stranger and your best friend. Strangers, because you haven't gone past that layer yet. So you're still looking at him like, what's my man on? And then you two, it's like, I know him because you've gone past that layer. So what is the world about vulnerability at the end of the day? So that's why I'm trying to make it cool to the younger generation. And to the older generation, I'm trying to make it cool to be vulnerable. There's so many adults my age that want to express more, but they haven't given themselves the permission. They still feel like, do you know what I mean? But trust me, it's freedom. So yeah, that's
it's beautiful, bro. Yeah. And it seems like for me a perfect place to kind of end on that incredible advice. So I want to thank you for your openness, your transparency, and some of the segments in there I know that people are going to resonate with it and take so much from and put into their day-to-day life moving forward, which I think is the most important thing. And I think you're a bit like me in the sense that if this message gets spread to 2 people and it impacts them on a day-to-day basis, and then it spreads to 5 people from there, it's that knock-on effect. So I think that's the beautiful
That's what I
thing.
want my legacy to be. That's what I want my legacy to be. I want it to cause a ripple effect of all the different people that I touched along the way. Do you know what I mean? To touch that's what I want my legacy to be. I want everyone to have a story of remember Shocka came on my show when I had 20 followers. That I mean, I never thought he would do it, and he came. But I came because people that I'm never gonna meet. There's 8 billion of us. He's met people that I'm never gonna meet. Do you know what I mean? So just coming on his show has exposed me to those people, and you too. I've got people that's gonna watch this that don't know who you are. I was like, I've been missing out on these podcasts, and they're gonna catch up on all your episodes. So that's why
Facts, bro. Well, thank you so much for your time. Honestly, it's been incredible. So the insight's been out of this world. So thank you.
Love, bro.
Nice one, bro.
Sweet.